a number of conservatives, Republicans, MAGA, Trumpers, that we regret our votes in November. Van Jones had a segment that was on CNN where he asked black Trump supporters if they would vote for him again. Here's the other thing I want to bring up about like the tariffs and stuff. What Trump's doing is a risk. They're basically shitting on TikTok. The reason people have gone to TikTok is because they don't trust you. Doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious.
I don't care what a critic got to say, I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life, I'm about to come and
Just
run
a
it all back. I'm
motherfucking
the
jump.
new everybody
Just
snap
go.
back. You ain't fitted.
Let's fucking go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. And the other fucking guy who's ready to go on this Sunday afternoon. Chase.
What's up,
What's
man?
up, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Good, man. Got a lot of shit done, a lot of shit moving this week. I'm excited. And, you know, to me, every day is like Friday, every day is like Monday. Man, every day is a hustle day. I'm not understanding this whole taking off and people just happy to get to the weekend, man. That is not the kind of life for me, man. That just isn't it. I want it all mixed together all the time. Why can't you have a Friday night on Tuesday? You can.
Yeah.
You can. Just hustle, man. Just get into it. And that's what we've been doing. So I got my ring. My ring came yesterday.
Oh, the O-ring.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I didn't put it on until today. So we'll see what kind of feedback it gives me. And it's the latest. It's the Aura 4. And this ran about $400.
Okay.
What the cost was for the one I picked out. We'll see what kind of help and tell me. It's just going to tell me what I already know. Dude, you sleep for shit.
But at least it'll be like
It'll be official.
exactly.
It'll be scientific. Telling me, Troy, you ain't very good at the sleep thing, man. But I really feel it right now and have this past week. Like, I've done so much, but I feel like I haven't done certain things. And what do I need to do to get it more efficient? But I just have so many things going through this fucking head of mine right now on all different fronts, for business, for doing this podcast, for literally everything. And I'm trying to ask myself, am I doing the best I can at this? What can I do? Where do I need to improve the efficiency? Because it just seems like clutter. And I don't do great with clutter, but I got to figure out somehow how to compartmentalize it, I guess is the best way to put it, so that I can there's so many different things. It's just about moving each thing a little bit further towards the goal and then going on to the next thing. And it's just not something, and it's necessary stuff. So it's not like I can just focus on one area and get that to the goal line. That's part of the problem too. There's just a lot of things in the fire right now. So yeah, it is. Those are good problems to have. That is for sure. So let's start with this. Let's start with the fact that on X, I've been seeing a lot of posts. Now, you would think that because I'm a conservative, that I would get a lot of conservative shit on my feed, right? And actually, I don't get as much as you would think. It's actually liberal shit that dominates my feed. And it's probably because I respond to that more, even though I'm coming at them and pushing back, but I'm responding to it more than I do the conservative stuff. So what you focus on, that's what you get. I focus more on that, I get more of that. And that's what's happened. What I've seen a lot lately is a lot of questions over a few weeks at least, of people claiming that that a number of conservatives, Republicans, MAGA, Trumpers are no longer with him. That we regret our votes in November, that we wish if we had to do it over again, that we would not vote for him, and this is not what we voted for. That's the narrative of the woke left that's being pushed. However, what they can't deny is the truth. They try when it comes out, even on their own networks. You would think to me, it's got to be embarrassing for them, but nothing embarrasses them. But when they're shown that they're wrong, that I don't know where they're getting this thinking from or who they're talking to that's making them think this way. I think it's a bunch of fucking nonsense. I think that, and I haven't really seen it. I haven't really seen any conservatives that I know of come out and say anything like that. Now, there are conservatives that opposed Trump from the very beginning, the elites. There's some of those. Okay, but they didn't change their mind. They didn't vote for him this past time. So they're not changing their mind. And I'm just not seeing anybody saying, you know, I voted for Trump, but I'm really concerned about these tariffs now, and I really wish I hadn't voted for him. I'm not seeing it. So I don't know if they have somebody in their universe that's telling them that, or somebody's lying to them. Now, I wouldn't put it past a Democrat on a social media page or platform of making a fake account, or even using their own account and pretending they're conservative and saying they are and making something up, because we know they've done that in the past. We know that they've done it with other issues where the person that was crying racism is actually the one that spray painted the racist epitaph on the door or the wall, because they got caught. That's how we know they got caught doing it. So it could prove their point that this college and these students are racist, and because they didn't have, nothing was actually being done in that regard, they made it up. Because if it was happening, they wouldn't have to make it up, would they? They wouldn't have to make it up if some racist white kid was spraying that on the door. But that's not what's happened at all. So I wouldn't put it past somebody to do that. But I don't even know if I've really even seen that. I just see them kind of proclaiming it, that this is something, I guess it's maybe just an assumption out of their own mind. I don't know. But every once in a while, not as much as some others, but every once in a while, Van Jones runs into the truth. And conservatives will still hammer him otherwise. But, hats off that they did this. So Van Jones had a segment that was on CNN where he asked black Trump supporters, specifically black Trump supporters, if they would vote for him again. You're listening to the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy, and I'm the guy who continuously asks you show after show to do the one thing we need you to do, and that's hit the subscribe button. And I know many of you have, if you're listening to this, but I need you to go a step further. Get somebody else to hit the subscribe button. Encourage them to listen to the show. God bless. I'm Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. And hats off to him for even posing the question. And then after the interview, actually airing the segment and not trashing it. You know what I mean? Like, because it doesn't go good with what the narrative is. And that's what I mean is sometimes he steers into the truth. And he's one of the few Democrats, again, not necessarily on the lines of Bill Maher, but at least is challenging other Democrats sometimes to say, hey, repeating the same shit over and over again isn't working. That you're refusing to try to understand the Trump voters and why they voted for him. And if you refuse to do that, you're not going to have any chance at all of getting them to come to your side, or some of them to come back to the Democratic side. And they're right. As long as they continue to do this, Democrats continue to do this, as long as every day, and I saw it again today, as long as you say cult and Hitler and Nazi every day and calling us stupid every day, I'll call you stupid back. Again, you're not going to win with that. You're not. My side's already winning. It doesn't hurt me at all to call you stupid. But your side is losing because you fail to understand Trump. And I was just talking from somebody, how the best way to put it, colleague, another financial advisor. When I was a financial advisor back in Toledo, he was kind of my competition, and he was also on the radio sometimes and stuff. And I've invited him to be on the show. So hopefully we're going to do an interview with him because he has decades of experience. And he's, I just feel like we can have a really, even though he's not super famous, right? He's somebody that I respect his knowledge on the economy and the market and, the political environment too. And somebody I can have a good conversation with. And I think it'll make for a good podcast. But he said something that I've said many, many times, and I wasn't the first one to say it. I acknowledge that. The first one to say it was actually Rush Limbaugh before he died. Rush Limbaugh, and it's true today, said that the way to understand Donald Trump is this, that to take him seriously, but not literally. And the Democrats' problem is they take everything he says as literal, but not serious. And when they put his words into a literal form, which is not what he means, when they do that, they think, well, he's lying. Recently, just this past week, about gas prices, well, he pointed out gas price somewhere was $1.98. Okay, well, he didn't say that was the national average. He just said gas prices are coming down, and that was a price that hit somewhere. Even when gas is even if gas reaches $2.50 back in, my home state of Ohio, guess how much it's going to be here? $3 to $3.50, and it's been what, $3.50 to $4 around here lately. Our gas prices are just higher here, always. No matter what happens. And then they're even higher in California. And then you have to take into effect that some states love to or have more or higher tax amounts than others. And what they like to do is remember when Trump's first presidency, when gas prices really came down again, you know what states rushed in and were doing? Increasing the tax. And so then when the price of oil and gas went back up, it went up even more because there was an added cost to it, not because gas and oil was the whole reason. It wasn't. It was the increase in the taxes. So, and that's always going to be true. You can't say that it's going to be one price all across the country. But here's what we can say. On the market, that oil broke $60 a gallon. A barrel. $60 a barrel. Dude, that's cheap. When it's when it gets much below 60, they can't do fracking and stuff very well or very often. And we love to frack, but there's no profit in it at that price. So when we're getting this low, it's gonna eventually, it's not the next day that your gasoline prices are going to be less, because it has to go through the whole process. It has to be processed from the oil, the type of oil it is, to being gasoline. So, and then you have to account, and nobody ever mentions this, except for a handful of us, and I always do, is we change types of gas twice a year. We go from a winter blend to a summer blend. And usually for a moment during that change, there's a blip up in prices, maybe 10, 20 cents. And the same thing happened, and then they settle back down. Same thing happens in the fall when we go from summer to a winter blend. So depending on the season, we use different types of gas, and that's determined because different states have different rules and things like that. So to say that, wow, gas prices aren't coming, they have to come down. You cannot have $60 a barrel oil when we had higher prices of 75 and 80 and 90 and even at times during the Biden administration of 100. You can't have that come down and for us not to have lower gas prices. And the economy and the market looks forward. It's not looking at today. What's going on today don't mean motherfucking shit. It's looking at the future, and it bases that on the future. And so there's adjustments that are made because big companies see that happening, and they say, oh, this looks like this is, at least for Trump's term now, they say this is an administration that is pro-energy, that they're going to open up areas, whether it be in the ocean or whether it be in Alaska or for fracking or whatever, that they're going to open up areas of opportunity to explore to get more natural gas and oil, which is going to help keep prices lower. That Trump even wanted to, finish the pipeline again. But, the country doesn't, the company that originally had the pipeline, they've gotten fucked a couple times now. They don't want to get back started doing it and get fucked over again. Now, maybe they can get it done faster so they wouldn't have to worry about that in case the next administration wasn't Republican. But yeah, I mean, having that kind of stuff, or the other thing Trump has been promoting, but these are things most people aren't going to pay attention to, is to have areas or to have ports like in Washington, couldn't be Oregon, and other places where we transfer natural gas, to ships and ship natural gas around the world because we're the biggest supply. We can be the world's biggest supplier of it because we have the most of any country. We have more than we need. We can be exporters of energy. And part of the problems was it's called LNG, liquid natural gas, these LNG terminals where we were going to be building these LNG terminals during the first Trump administration. Guess who stopped it? Well, Biden did. Okay, that makes energy costs go up. Trump is for all energy, including nuclear, and he's not, I won't say he's not like, I think he's like similar to me. He's not against wind and solar, but they're just not optimum. They're just not optimum. And we've seen that, and I could go into that one example in Europe that they just had, that the whole problem they had was caused by their solar energy going down. And it totally fucked the whole country up for several days. Okay? It's just, you still have to have a backup to it because it's not that the wind doesn't always blow. It's just whatever. And the amount of money that it takes to supply it. It used to be years ago, because I'm old, it used to be that we were going to run out. That's what the problem was, is we were going to run out. It wasn't about climate. It was about that we weren't going to have any more. We needed to do something. But you know what the problem was? We kept discovering more and more and more. And then places where we knew there was oil, but we couldn't get it out, we figured out ways to get that fucking shit out. So we had access to more. So again, companies make decisions based on the longer term like that. And that's good for the economy because that's a big added cost. So yeah, for example, tariffs, 100% of tariffs are not passed on to the consumer, but tariffs might increase prices on some things. But the companies that are importing it, maybe they're going to be able to offset that because their energy costs are going to be less. So maybe the consumer won't see a difference. You see what I'm saying? like we don't know exactly how it's going to play out yet. But we do know one thing, that all the scaremongering that was happening after it was announced, that it's only been a month now. And things are starting to already look like he was right. That the positive news is coming in. Even China's like, look behind the scenes. China is like some fucked up shit's going on in China. That they're not paying their employees, and they don't pay them much anyways, right? At these factories, they don't pay them. That some of these people haven't been paid since January, and they're protesting. You got a bunch of mad fucking Chinese people over there that aren't getting paid, or their factories are being shut down because of the tariffs. They need us more than we need them. China can't just take the goods that they sell the U.S. and sell them to everybody else. The rest of the world combined does not consume as much as we do. We're the consumers. We're the ones that buy the shit more than anywhere else. And I've heard people say that when they've gone to foreign countries, certain foreign countries, anyways, that are beautiful countries. And, they had this money, and they thought, and that things are cheaper there, and they thought they were going to buy shit there. There wasn't shit to buy. There was nothing to buy. They're just not consuming countries, not like we are. They need you can make whatever the fuck you want to make, but at the end, you have to have somebody to sell it to. Doesn't matter what price you make it for if you don't have anybody to sell it to. So with all that in mind, as a little bit of backdrop, I went into way more detail than I thought I was going to. This whole idea that Trump supporters are not happy with Trump. Most of Trump supporters, again, I believe are going to be like me. I don't like everything, man. I don't like everything. I've told you some of the things that I don't like. Like, I don't like the fact that we haven't seen the Epstein files. I also don't like the fact that some of this shit that's been uncovered by Doge is literally criminal. It's theft. It's theft. People were stealing. Are these people going to be prosecuted? That's what MAGA people are asking. We just don't want the fraud uncovered. We want the fraudsters held accountable. And we're actually willing to tell our party that. We're willing to hold Republicans' feet to the fire. Say, yeah, good start. Good start. At least you're not abandoning Trump this time like you did in his first term because you were scared, chickenless, ballless little pricks, okay? And you were. That's why we lost midterms. We don't have to lose midterms this time. And if the Democrats keep doing the shit they're doing, they're not going to win. But Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in history. You dumbass motherfuckers. Guess who has lower approval ratings than Trump? Democrats in Congress. It's not even close. So you're comparing it to the wrong shit. So you could keep repeating it over and over how unfavorable Trump is. It ain't going to help you because people don't trust you. And you're not doing anything to build trust because you're against every single fucking thing. It's one thing to want, say, a process or due process for illegal aliens. It's another to go all in on a piece of shit who was, I don't know, watch the video. It sure seems like he was trafficking in people in the video of the cops, and the cops had every right to try to do something about it, except when they called ICE during the Biden administration, they were called off. But if you look at the video and you hear Abrego Garcia talk, you're like, this dude's full of shit. It's just obvious in watching it. And not once, but twice, on separate occasions, his wife talked about him beating her, hitting her scared to death. She might still be scared now. She might be being threatened now. Who knows? So, I mean, she's changed her tune here recently, but that's not what she said before. She was even afraid for her kids. You picked the wrong person to double down on. But the Democrats are good at doing that. They're always doubling down on the wrong motherfucking thing or the wrong motherfucking person. You pick the wrong cases to do that with. So let's go to this, because I think this is really important and interesting as well. Van Jones on interviewing these black supporters. So let's see if we can find that spot that starts.
We started off the broadcast tonight with the president's cabinet shakeup, and that's, of course, only a fraction of what's unfolded over the last 102 days in the second Trump.
There you go.
There they are.
You do well.
And here we are in South Carolina with 3 Trump voters. You weren't always a Republican.
No. Actually, I come from a family that was like super Democratic. My first time voting, I voted Democrat. I voted for Joe Biden.
What about Trump appealed to you?
Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you can go.
I mean, part of it is he's an asshole. I like authenticity.
You voted for Obama then you voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. But 2020, you voted for Donald Trump. What made the change?
I began listening to someone, her name is Candace Owens, and I read her book, and it just opened my eyes to maybe he's not this person that I have been led to believe that he was.
So you voted against Trump in 2016.
Yes.
But then in 2020, you voted for him?
Absolutely.
Why?
I saw how things were going during his first term, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I was pleased with what was happening. I saw the economy getting better. I saw country relations in certain countries getting better.
What are some things that he's doing that you do like?
For me, I like the border. I just don't like the idea of someone coming here illegally and getting benefits that can serve my community. So that's the reason why I support him on that border policy.
When you think about the border, you think about people coming here who are getting more help than people who live here and who were born here.
Yeah. And I got that perspective not from news channels. I got it from social media. TikTok is like a holy grail. We even see it with the things that we learn about the United States government. Outside of the United States, people are showing Americans, hey, look at what's going on. Do y'all know that your government is doing this? Have you seen this? Have you looked at it from this perspective?
You know, people, when they think about a Trump voter, they usually think about like a white dude with like a red hat on and a pickup truck. And y'all are not that at all. So Donald Trump's team went in, they took down Harriet Tubman's picture for a quick minute. They're trying to like knock out the black museums. What does that have to do with the price of eggs, and how does that impact you?
In some ways, it's a slap in the face. In other ways, I don't care. I care more about how I'm going to take care of my children.
I don't think the average American cares about that. I know I am sick and tired of seeing black people sit there and complain about something, but not taking action and steps to actually try to change things in an appropriate manner.
Under the Trump and Biden administration, they came to certain agreements with police departments to be less brutal toward the black community. Trump has now ended all that. How does that help the black community?
I have a lot of issues with police reform and just with how police officers are treated as a whole. My husband is currently going through the process to become a police officer. The amount of hatred that cops get, even the best ones, I think has become a huge problem, because it has been, especially around election times, when it definitely comes out of like, oh no, the cops are bad, the cops hate you because you're black, they're immediately deemed as evil.
This man is talking about running for a third term. Now, what do you think about that?
The third term, for me, absolutely not. I think it's at the end of these 4 years, it's time to move on.
This is a prime example of him trolling people because people have said, they're like, oh, if he gets in the office, he's going to be a dictator. He's going to try to run for a third term. So he's like, okay, y'all think I'm going to do that? I'm going to mess with y'all and say this to take y'all up.
I thought you loved this man because he's so authentic and he's such a true
But
teller.
you know the difference between somebody trolling somebody, and this is a prime example of him being a troll.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would. Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this next one.
Yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
And Van Jones joins me now.
Stop it right there for a minute, because I do want to hear a little bit of the conversation that he had with Anderson there. But he did try to set up the questions to go a certain way or give people information that he thought might help them give a different answer, and it just didn't work. And he was lighthearted about it, which is great that he had this. But I don't think this is just a black voter perspective. I think this is just a Trump voter kind of thing that would say the same thing that I actually hear. Like the one black voter, the male that Van Jones was talking to, you know, when he was asked a question, he gave a specific policy that was important to him, and that being immigration, and he went into more specifics about that. I never heard Democrats really do that. I never really heard it, and still today, when Democrats would say, oh, Biden was the greatest president ever. Oh, my God. It's like, what are you thinking? But you never hear them during his term or now defending it talk about specific policies. There's no specifics there. And where the conservatives do talk about specific policies. I talk about specific policies. And it's not, I don't dislike someone because of the color of their skin. I dislike someone because I just don't like them for how they act or, you know, whatever their behavior might be, or, you know, I've never not liked somebody and had their race be the reason, or even the top 100 reasons. I've just never had that happen. I'm not saying there are, of course, I believe there are racists, but I'm just saying, for the most part, most people, that's just not a thing. And especially, as I've said before, especially for my generation, it's not a thing. And most people in my generation hate what's going on now, because we felt like growing up, we were making progress in race relations, and that we were burying that shit, and that color didn't matter. And then all of a sudden, when, you know, we were adults, and, you know, I'm 57 now, so maybe into our 30s, and all of a sudden, what was becoming important again was putting people in little boxes and classes based on their race or their not even gender at the time, because that wasn't a thing, but their sexuality, dividing it amongst those things. When my generation, I grew up as like, yeah, that's not a thing. We don't do that. So I thought this was great that they did this and were willing to do this, because CNN could be better. They have a chance to be, because all of the mainstream news organizations pretty much suck. And if they wanted to increase market share instead of just become dinosaurs, actually doing real journalism and real news, well, nobody else is doing it. You might just attract people again. You might see your audience numbers go up if you do that. Try doing that. Try not being for one side or the other, but you can't tell me they're not, because again, Trump's lowest approval numbers of any president in history. You know what's also true? That the media coverage that Trump has gotten from mainstream media, 97% of it, 97% has been negative. Who can withstand that? But yet Democrats' approval ratings are even lower. How Trump has managed to keep his approval numbers in where they're even at now is absolutely amazing, in the face of you have 97 out of 100 people in a room screaming out how bad he is. There's nobody could withstand that. I'm not saying it should, be that positive either. I'm not saying it should be 97% positive. They can do whatever they want, but there's also consequences for that. Because part of that, the consequences are people don't believe you. Okay? You lied to us during COVID. You lied to us about the Russia hoax. You lied to us about Hunter's laptop. However important you think Hunter's laptop is or not, the main thing that fucks you Democrats over about that is simply the fact that you lied. You lied. And other people, why are we supposed to trust government when, 51 people signed that letter that were in the intelligence community that said the Hunter laptop shit was just a hoax? That's what they said. It said it was just a hoax. And it wasn't a hoax. But you tried to put over a hoax on us, and you lied. You can't, how many times you think you can lie to someone before they're just going to not, and then the one time you tell the truth, you're surprised they don't believe you? Why would they? You've lied to them 9 times in a row. They're not going to believe you anymore. They don't even listen to you anymore. So let's hear what they had to say, what Van Jones had to say about the experience with Anderson.
It's interesting. Most of the information that they are getting, or misinformation they may be getting, is coming from online.
Listen to him.
Really, 100%. The thing that surprised me the most was how much social media is dictating, especially the younger guy. He said, look, I'm learning all this stuff about America that I didn't know. I'm like, where are you learning from? TikTok. China. Guys, you're a Republican and you're taking the Chinese narrative about your own country to heart.
He's missing the whole point
big part
of what he just
their
did.
Whole information ecosystem.
Yeah,
social media.
Does it seem to you that they follow news closely? I mean,
no, that was the other thing too. Is like one of the women said, "Look, I do not watch any of the media." She says, I have some influencers I follow. Candace Owens being a big deal, and Newsmax. And that is their information system. And listen, these are hardworking people. They're good people. They care about the country, but they are in a completely different information environment than people who I talk to every day.
Yeah, the people you talk to every day and are in a motherfucking bubble, dude. I mean, it's just they do something good like that, and then they just don't get it. Putting somebody down for getting information from TikTok is such garbage. Now, there's garbage on TikTok, don't get me wrong, but that whole argument is no different than when people used to say that about the internet. Oh, you got that? Oh, you looked it up on Google? Google's just a search engine, dude. That's all it is. Just a search engine. You can search and you can get good resources from Google, and you can get shitty resources from Google. You have to weed it out. It's just drawing them in for you to be able to look at in one place and do it more quickly. That's all it is. And it's no different. Let me draw the comparison to what I do. Okay, because people say, "Oh, why are you going to listen to somebody like Troy on TikTok about testosterone and steroids and da, 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 da." You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to me. There are doctors on TikTok. There are doctors that say the same things I say. We've showcased that. And there are times when I challenge the doctors. And I'd be willing to do that in person. So there are good people that put out good information. It's what I try to do on TikTok related to diet and nutrition and testosterone, peptides. I'm constantly fighting for that. I'm constantly fighting somebody on there that's like, I've been recently fighting somebody that has this peptide nasal spray it's just garbage. I'm not saying it doesn't work at all, but it doesn't work like they say it works. Or it's certainly not optimal. And they can't prove that it's optimal because where the studies have been done has been other places that have proven their effectiveness. Okay. So it doesn't make it bad because it came from TikTok. There's good information on TikTok and bad information on TikTok. And you got to be adult enough to find it and figure it the fuck out. To hear whatever side you're going to listen to be open-minded. If you're going to be closed-minded, it doesn't matter the source. That's just the case. They're being closed-minded. They're basically shitting on TikTok when, look, people don't, there's a reason people have gone to TikTok, Anderson. The reason people have gone to TikTok is because they don't trust you. Why are you not asking that question? Why do they not trust us anymore? Yeah, you know what? I do the same thing. I pick out certain people I want to listen to and people I don't want to listen to. And I pick out certain people. Like I will watch snippets or little bits of CNN like this. But am I going there for my news? No. I got way better sources than that. And, again, I'm in a place, or I'm putting myself in a position where I'm not in an echo chamber. If I was in an echo chamber, all I would be getting on my X feed is conservatives, right? If all I wanted to hear was views like mine, because then I'd be commenting on the people who think like I do. Look, I don't need to have a conversation with the person who thinks like me. I don't have to have that. If somebody can actually be nice enough and not be a shitty fucking human being, I would rather have a conversation with somebody who has some different views and understand why they have those views. That's going to be more fun more most of the time. Again, I'll talk to somebody who has views like me. I enjoy that. Just like I said, I would enjoy having Doc and talk with him and, about the economy and things like that. But I also enjoy engaging with people who have other views. But it's very, very hard to do right now. Because if their first words out of their mouth are Nazi and cult, I already know I can't even, we haven't even started a discussion yet. How the fuck can I have a discussion with somebody like that? It's literally impossible to do. You can't do if you start out in that place. And that's why I would say that more than most conservatives, I do have a respect for Bill Maher in that he at least is open to having the discussions. And that he's willing to talk to somebody like Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk. He's willing to go to the White House and sit down with the president and just have the conversation. That's all. And Trump has called him all kinds of names before. I'm pretty sure that when they sat down to eat, neither one of them were calling the other one names. And it sounds like, from Bill's perspective, that Trump asked him a lot of questions about what he thought. that Trump just didn't take over the conversation and tell Bill this is the way it is. He asked him, what are your thoughts on this? Like over and over again on all the things that they discussed, which kind of shocked Bill. And he said that. He wasn't expecting that. But that's the way it could be. But when you're an asshole, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get asshole back. That's just how it is right now. So I thought it was really good that they did that. I think there's a big misconception out there about Trump voters and that we're somehow not pleased. Just because a Trump voter might be concerned. You know, here's the other thing I want to bring up about like the tariffs and stuff that I've heard people say and conservatives say, like Charlie Kirk, that it's a risk. What Trump's doing is a risk. Patrick Bet-David, same thing, that what Trump is doing is a risk with these tariffs. What I don't see being followed through is pointing or is when you're having a discussion with somebody, asking them this, what was the alternative? The status quo? Because the status quo had us going off a cliff. And yeah, I believe what Trump is doing, absolutely, there's a risk. But we have a chance of fixing it, of getting a better outcome. If we don't make the change, we know what our outcome is, and it's not good. We're fucked. So would you rather have a chance to win, or would you rather be fucked for sure? I don't want to be fucked for sure. I would rather at least have a chance. And I, unlike most people, because Trump's not a politician, unlike most, I believe at least that as Trump goes through this process, if there are certain things that he needs that aren't working and he needs to make an adjustment with, he'll make that adjustment. Even in the face of the media trashing him and saying, well, always backtracking now. No, he's just doing what he thinks is necessary to adjust to make things work, to keep things going forward, to get a positive outcome. And his positive outcome is that he wants something good for the American people in the middle class. Like, take a look at who the fuck he's fighting for. And if he wasn't fighting for them, look, the people who did the best, the 1% that y'all hate, they did the best they've ever done under the Biden administration. They made a shit ton of money during COVID. The rich got richer under COVID. So yeah, I'm sure there are a bunch of people out there, rich people, don't want to see Trump change things because they were making a shitload of money the way the system was. And now Trump wants to upset the apple cart and say, the system's rigged. And I've played the rigged system because that's what it was. I didn't have any power. I, contributed to Democrats because they were in power and I played the game. Well, now he has a chance to change maybe some of the rules of the game. And that's all that's happening here. Why would he wants to be considered a great president? Can you at least acknowledge that? He wants to be considered one of the greatest presidents, if not the greatest of all time, the best, the biggest, whatever. Then why would he, if this wasn't important to him, why would he take the risk to his reputation? His whole presidency and how it's going to be perceived 20 years from now depends on him getting this right. And he's willing to take that risk. And one thing I absolutely agree with, and I was mentioning Doc, that him and I both said this, the best thing, and we didn't know it at the time, the best thing that could happen to Trump was him losing to Biden so that he could regroup and do what he's doing today. because we wouldn't be getting the results or have a chance to get the results of today if he had had a second 4-year term right after. Would have been no chance at all. He knows where he made the mistakes, knows the things he needs to change. That's why he's coming in so fast and furious. That's why there's so many irons in the fire all at once. And the other benefit is he doesn't look, and I agree with the black woman there. Look, I'm going to get one. I'm going to have one made because I don't like the hats that I see made that say Trump 2028 on them. I don't like them. There's no Richardson hats out there. So I'm going to go have one made for myself. Why? Because it's a troll. Because I know the red hat upsets you people. I want to see you continue to be upset. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get that hat. But here's, again, the good thing is he's not going to be reelected. He knows there's no third term. And he can just do the right thing and fuck public opinion at the moment. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if he's given bad press. He doesn't care what anybody thinks about it. He's going to continue to do the right thing. And he has some really great people around him. Like that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. That guy, I barely knew who he was before this, but I've listened. I've listened to him speak, not just snippets or interviews, but listen to him give speeches. This guy is really, really smart. Okay. Remember I said I pick certain people to listen to? You want to pick certain people to listen to? There's one to listen to. There's one to follow along with right there, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. But yeah, Trump doesn't have to worry about getting reelected. So he can do whatever. Now, it's hard for Republicans because in Congress and in the House and in the Senate, because they do have to get reelected, but they just got to trust the process because the way they handled things last time fucked them all up and bad. That you can run and win and be a conservative and with what you believe in. You can do that. And Trump showed that. I mean, this is nothing like the Republican Party that most people remember of 25 years ago. Not like that. This is not George Bush's Republican Party. And I was a Republican then. I'm not the same Republican today as I was then. I've changed. And you know why I changed? Because they lied to me. I supported things. I supported wars. And they lied to me. And I don't like to be nobody wants to admit they got fooled by somebody. No, Trump's not fooling me. I'm not really a member of a cult, but every time you say so on social media, I'm going to say I am. I'm probably going to say I'm a Nazi too. Secretly a Hitler lover. That my Hitler tattoo's on my ass, and no, I'm not going to show you. No, come on, man. That's not a thing. That's not who we are. But we are about Americans first. You know, one of the things the black guy brought up, and that was a big thing that was shown about, you know, especially people in Chicago area who were pissed. You know, they were pissed at their mayor. They were pissed at the money that was being spent on illegal immigrants that wasn't being spent in their community, helping the black community. The black community, sadly, has been on a plantation for a little while. And it's a Democratic plantation. They've been lying to you. And the chains may have been soft. They may not have been metal chains, but they were chains nonetheless. Because the Democrats don't give two shits about the black vote. Because they had it. They didn't have to court the black vote anymore. That's dumb. You should always court all of your voters. All of them. It's one of the things they say about relationships, right? You should always date your girlfriend. You should always date your wife. Be put the stuff that you did to attract you. You don't stop once you got them, right? That's what Democrats have done. They took you for fucking granted. And finally, some in the black community have said enough. At least this man's talking to me. At least this man has done something to show me that he cares. You're not showing me nothing. But you want me to believe someone that we all thought was great, that we put him in movies, that we talked about him in rap songs, in our culture. He was next to our best people or, our biggest celebrities. He was next to Mike Tyson. All right. All of this stuff. We didn't have a problem. The black community had zero problem with Donald Trump before he officially threw his hat in the ring. Zero. None. Not even Jesse Jackson. Not even Al Sharpton. They took money from Donald Trump. They took office space from Donald Trump that he gave them. They were fine standing next to him then until he ran for president as a Republican. If he'd have ran as president as a Democrat, guess what? They wouldn't have had a problem with it. But they have the status quo. They have these people that they just want to keep shoving down your throat. That's not democracy. It's not democracy when, I don't even like Bernie Sanders. But yet I stick up for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders got screwed. Totally screwed by Hillary Clinton. Totally set up. He was going to win the Democratic nomination. And they kept changing the rules on him so that they could give it to the person they wanted to give it to, which was Hillary. No different with Biden. And Kamala didn't earn it. Again, that's not democracy if the people in your party don't even get to vote for it. Not a single Democrat, no matter what you think now about her, not a single Democrat cast a vote to nominate her to be the Democratic representative in the election. Not one person. It was decided by people that think they're smarter than you. How'd that work out? That's not democracy. And now, you know what I see on my feed a lot now? Trump stole the election. So, and apparently it's okay to say, if you're a Democrat, it's okay to say that he stole the election, that Elon Musk secretly hacked the voting machines, and Trump admitted it. Yeah, it's okay for you to deny the vote, but when we question the vote, we're traitors. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. That shit don't fly. Come on. It's crazy. But that was a big one. So just to kind of go along with it a little bit, just point out a couple other things. China now, here at the end of this week, coming to the table. Maybe coming to the table. They kind of wanted Trump to reduce the 145% tariffs before they did. He just said no. He said, I'll do it at some point, but not before we start the talks. We can start the talks and then we'll figure it out. I'm not going to fold part of my fucking hand beforehand because you're hurting a little bit. I want you to be hurting a little bit when you come to the table. I don't know. It seems pretty smart to me. Jobs up in April by an amount that was higher than expectations. That's good. They said that wasn't going to happen. And a month ago, we had the stock market in turmoil, chaos, right? The world's going to end. Trump is stealing my 401k. And now they're mad again. Now they're mad because what? You're mad because the market's back up. And even if you look at from its highs, you know, being down what? 6 to 8%, depending on which one, which index you're looking at. That's nothing but usual activity for the market. That's nothing. What is something is the constant fear mongering over and over and over again. Trying to get people all worked up. Now, what do I see in the news when I pull it up? All these demonstrations across the country. Well, while you people are demonstrating peacefully, the rest of us motherfuckers are making that money. You ought to be about yourself, about figuring some shit out. Because I don't care if it's Democrats or Republicans. Ain't none of those motherfuckers putting food on your table and sending you a check. None of them. No president has ever determined my success or failure. The number one influencer on my success and my failures is me. I'm the number one influence. But maybe because you're losing or not doing well right now, you don't want to accept that responsibility or the blame. Well, until you do, your situation ain't going to get any fucking better. That's just the hard motherfucking truth. Your situation ain't going to get better. Nobody's coming to save you. Time for you to save yourself. Grow the fuck up. Grow a pair. Be a man. Be about your business. Go do what you got to do. Start taking care of business like a man. Start taking care of your family like a man. Stop whining like little bitches. I'm so sick of bitchy, whiny little men. We need more. We don't need less masculinity in this country. We need more of it. And there ain't nothing toxic about being a man. You've been sold a bill of goods. You've been told some bullshit that you thought was going to help get you some pussy. It ain't got you shit. Real women don't want that. Real women want a man. Real women don't want some bitch-ass whiny complainer. They want you to get to work. Take them out to dinner. Acknowledge them. But that's the best I can do on the female advice. Marriage advice I don't give. I can tell you how to get them, though. That's it. All right. That's what we have for you today. And love and appreciate y'all. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life.